Hey guys, I hope everyone's day is going well. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Slappa, which is a collaboration yo-yo between Throw Spiral and Jake Bullock. I'm super stoked to have this thing in my collection, so without any further ado, let's jump into the review. Okay, so as normal, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I actually reached out to Throw Spiral asking if they wanted to send me one of these yo-yos in exchange for a review, and they said yes. I saw it on their page and it looks super sick, and I'm really thankful for them. So thank you to Throw Spiral and I guess Jake for sending me this yo-yo. I'll be sure to include all of their links and contact information in the description down below, as well as a link to purchase this yo-yo right here. As usual, in order to get a baseline idea as to what this yo-yo is all about, I'm gonna include the specs of the yo-yo on the screen right here. Okay, so as you probably noticed, the Slappa is definitely more of a unique yo-yo, a very kind of strange one. So you can see, first things first, the diameter coming in at 57.5 millimeters is a little bit on the large side, a little bit larger of a diameter, but nothing too crazy. However, the width of 36 millimeters is definitely very small. Most yo-yos have much wider widths, and as you can see, this is a pretty narrow yo-yo, but that's intentional. I also want to point out that the weight is 58.1 grams, which is extremely light. Most yo-yos in this day and age are around 63 to 64 grams, so this being 58.1 grams makes it a very light yo-yo. Okay, so we talked about the specs. They're pretty unusual. I think it's time we talk about the yo-yo itself. So as you can see, the Slappa is definitely a very interesting looking yo-yo. For starters, it's got that narrow shape, and I'll first talk about that. So as you can see, it's got a really nice, more organic shape, but it's extremely narrow and skinny. As you can see, the gap width is pretty small. The yo-yo itself is generally very narrow. So this is definitely more of like your slim yo-yo. I've seen this kind of design a lot before, but I want to point out that I think the Slappa is probably the best use of this design that I've seen yet. In general, it just looks super clean. I also love this kind of violet colorway. Now moving on over to the cup, we've got a couple things going on here. So you can see that we've got this inspiration from Jake where it's that white kind of ring around the rim. We've seen this many times before with Jake's yo-yos like the Dunk, and so it's really cool that it included it on this yo-yo. From there, they've got kind of a nice little ridge which you'll be able to do thumb grinds on, and then it just leads down to a very flat center. However, I think that there's a lot going on behind the scenes with this yo-yo. I'll talk about it a little bit later in the play section of this video, but this is a very special yo-yo, and there's a lot of attributes about it that I did not expect. Okay, so what you guys have all probably been waiting for, how does the Slappa actually play? This yo-yo is so interesting for many different reasons. So for starters, this yo-yo is extremely rim weighted and extremely stable. I was honestly shocked. When I saw that this yo-yo was around 58 grams, I immediately thought, okay, this is going to be a very light yo-yo, but it's not going to be stable at all. There's no way they can make it feel solid. However, this yo-yo is extremely solid on the string. It is shocking. I think that there's just a ton of rim weight in there, and they've done something special with the rate distribution because it feels so nice on the string. As you might expect, with such a light weight, this yo-yo moves very freely. That was a big thing. It's a very fast and maneuverable yo-yo, which I absolutely love. You can just kind of tug it around from one side to the other, and it'll just follow you perfectly. The slim design of this yo-yo makes for a very fun experience, I've got to say. I really enjoy just kind of throwing the yo-yo down and binding it back to my hand. It's extremely kind of solid feeling, and it's just very satisfying. It's worth mentioning that this is not going to be like your ideal competition yo-yo, but I do have to say it is one of the best yo-yos I've ever tried for just kind of tossing something around for fun. I could see this as an amazing yo-yo for competitions, maybe after you're done competing and you just want to throw something fun around. It's a very refreshing yo-yo, but it still is solid. It's not one of those yo-yos that, you know, feels so unique that it can't do your tricks. It really does have a shockingly long spin time and a ton of rim weight on the yo-yo. So as you can see, I could really easily honestly do a lot of fast tricks that really push the yo-yo. They were a little bit more difficult to land, obviously, since the gap is pretty narrow, but still, I was very impressed with its performance. I also still was able to do a lot of really cool whip and slack tricks. It wasn't too hard really to land the yo-yo in the groove, and I didn't have too much trouble there. Tech tricks are also pretty good. I would say that since the yo-yo is a little bit larger in terms of diameter, it could be a little bit more difficult to actually land the yo-yo in the gap, but I personally had no trouble with my tech tricks, and I don't really foresee you either having any issues. Binds with this yo-yo are extremely satisfied. I have got to say, I was so impressed with how the binds were just felt very secure. They didn't snag up too much with the response pad that were already in there, and in general, I think the gap width is just perfect. As you can see, I was still able to land some decently hard binds, which was really impressive. And then honestly, for grinds, this yo-yo isn't half bad. It's pretty darn good for finger grinds. There's definitely a lot of friction between your finger and the yo-yo since the gap isn't very flared out, but because the yo-yo has so much power and a very smooth matte finish, it's not too bad at all. Palm grinds are also good, and then Talon and thumb grinds are exceptional, I have got to say. You can really lock your thumb in there and do a lot of really cool and fun Talon grind tricks. And then finally, finger spins are pretty good. You aren't gonna really lock into a finger spin just because that center is completely flat, but you can still perform them as you can see there. It's also worth mentioning that I think this would be a great trainer yo-yo for competition. In general, I think that since it has a more narrow gap and design, it's a little bit more difficult, obviously, to land your tricks. But I bet if you were to train on this yo-yo, keep in mind, this yo-yo still has great spin time. It just requires a little bit more precision. I think it could be amazing for training because once you try out your competition yo-yo, which would presumably have a larger gap and therefore be easier to land, I think you would really have an amazing experience on that yo-yo. Okay, so in conclusion, I'm super impressed with this yo-yo. I think there is way more than meets the eye with this yo-yo. It has a very unique feel that you're just gonna have to try it for yourself. It's so hard to put into words. But the cool thing about this yo-yo is that although it is light and very, very fast and very floaty feeling, it is just so stable for no reason. It's awesome. Every time I bind this yo-yo back to my hand, I am shocked with how much more spin it still has in its system. So there's really some incredible engineering going on with this yo-yo. Once again, I want to thank Jake and Throwspile for sending me this yo-yo and making this entire video possible. Alright, so thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like. Also, if you are new here and haven't seen my videos before, hit that subscribe button so you can see whenever I post a new video. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.